I've got a bottom bracket half out and grease to my wrist when a shadow parks itself at the edge of my table. $22, Adayaz says. What? That's what you just charged that guy. I heard you. 22 for a tune-up and a chain. It was a quick one. You were under that bike 18 minutes. I counted. You counted? She sets her sharpening case down on my folding table like she rents space on it, which she does not. I count everything, she says. 18 minutes, plus the chain, which cost you what, 9? So you cleared about $12 of labor. That's 40 an hour if nothing goes wrong, and something always goes wrong. I wipe my hands on the rag and don't look up, because looking up means looking at her. And she's got that face on where she already knows the answer and is being polite enough to let me say it. Weekends are volume, I say. Weekends are you doing 350 on a good Saturday and maybe 480 across the whole week with your call-outs. That number lands somewhere between my ribs. It's close. It's uncomfortably close. Where'd you get that? You tell people your rates in a loud voice all day. I have ears and a slow line at the coffee stand. 2 stalls down, Marguerite Kell is pretending to sort vendor forms and absolutely listening. Okay, I say. And you? Restaurants. My brother sends me contracts. One kitchen with 40 knives and a slicer beats your entire Saturday, and I don't have to kneel in gravel. You also carry a whetstone. I carry an engine. Nobody's paying you extra for the engine, Berto. She uses my name like she's used it 100 times. We've been neighbors 1 season. I don't think we've had 4 full conversations. So what is this? I say. You came over to price my labor for fun? I came over because I quit a job that paid me very well and everyone in my family thinks I've lost my mind. And I want to prove a trade beats a salary. She taps the edge of my table. You're the only other person here who's actually trying to grow instead of just showing up. That's almost a compliment. It's a whole compliment. Don't stretch it. I sit back on my heels. The bottom bracket is still hanging out of the frame, which feels like a metaphor and also like a problem. 8 weeks, she says, starting today. Tracked revenue, real numbers, no rounding up for pride, highest total wins. Wins what? Loser buys the winner a full toolkit, the good kind, not the ones with a plastic case that cracks. That's $400, so don't lose. Somewhere behind me, a kid rings a bell on a handlebar 11 times. Why me, I say. Because you'll actually keep honest books, and because you'll be annoyed enough to try. She picks her case back up. And you can say no. You just have to say it out loud in front of Marguerite. I'm not saying no. No, I didn't think you would. She's already turning, and then she isn't. And she looks back at me with something warmer than the numbers. Bring your spreadsheet tonight, she says. We'll write the rules down so you can't wriggle. I don't wriggle. Everybody wriggles. 7 o'clock. I finish the bottom bracket wrong and have to do it twice. She picks the taco place by the boat ramp, which means she's not trying to impress me, which somehow works better. I get there at 6:58 with my laptop and a spreadsheet I'm not proud of. She's already got a legal pad out and 2 glasses of water sweating on the table. Sit, she says. Rules first, food second, or we'll never do the rules. You've done this before. I've done 900 meetings that could have been an email. She slides a sheet of paper across at me before I've even opened the laptop. Printed, dated, signed. Her name at the bottom in a signature that looks like it's been used on real documents. I read the first 2 lines twice. You recused yourself from anything touching your stall, placement, permits, complaints, all of it. Copy went to Marguerite this afternoon. She filed it and asked me twice if we were dating. What did you say? I said file it. I set the paper down. There was a whole thing I'd been building in my head on the drive over. Some careful way to bring up that she sits on the committee that decides where I set up, and how that made the whole contest feel like betting against the house. She got there first and didn't make me carry it. I was going to ask you about that, I say. I know. You had the face. I have a face? You've had it since 11 this morning. Our food comes. She eats like someone who's timed her lunch break for a decade. Okay, she says. Revenue means collected, not invoiced. Money in the account or in the hand. If a customer stiffs you, that's your problem, not a footnote. Fine. Parts pass through at cost, no markup counted. That's not how a business works. It's how the contest works. Otherwise you buy $900 of tires and call it growth. You've thought about how to cheat this. I've thought about how everyone cheats everything. 12 years of watching people pad regional numbers to save a bonus. She wipes her hands. Sunday nights we exchange totals, screenshots, not summaries. Either of us can walk away from the whole thing anytime. No toolkit owed. I look up. 12 years doing what exactly? Operations director, regional restaurant group, 16 locations at the end. 16. Then a buyout came through and I got told to cut my own team by a guy who'd been in the building 11 days. She shrugs, but it's not a light one. So I left, bought a truck and a wet grinder. I've been standing next to this woman on Saturdays for a season, thinking she was a lady with a nice knife cart. You could have led with that this morning, I say. Why? So you'd be polite to me? So I'd have taken you seriously. You take numbers seriously. That's why I picked you. She caps her pen. Your spreadsheet. Let's see it. I turn the laptop. She scans it for maybe 6 seconds. Your labor and your parts are in the same column. They're in the same wallet. Berto. I'll split them, she says, and turns the laptop back toward herself and starts typing. Her wrist brushes mine on the trackpad, and neither of us moves it. Sunday, I fix a mower carburetor in my driveway and check my phone 11 times. At 9, she texts one line, 462, your move and don't round. By week 2, Pike catches me by the garage door on Tuesday, holding a paper like it personally insulted her. Rent's going up 80 a bay, she says. Landlord's kid did the math on comparable properties, whatever that means. 80, starting the 1st. I stand there doing my own math, which takes about 4 seconds, because 80 a month is 1.5 mower carburetors, and I don't have 1.5 spare mower carburetors. Addie's pulls in at 6 with her truck bed full of a restaurant's worth of knives in a plastic tub. Pike told you, she says, before hello. Pike told me. Bay 4's the widest one, sink's in it. My grinder needs the sink and your engines need the drain, and we both need $80 we don't want to spend. You already talked to the landlord. I already talked to the landlord. She hauls the tub out with her knee against the bumper. Half each. My side is the sink wall. Your side is the roll-up. Nobody moves anybody's stuff without asking. You had this planned before you got out of the truck. I had this planned Tuesday at 9:40. So, that's how I end up sharing a bay with my competition. The first night is mostly furniture. Her cart goes against the sink, my stand goes under the light, and there's a stretch of concrete in the middle that we both keep walking into each other in. Behind you, she says. You don't have to say that. It's not a kitchen. I've said it for 12 years. It's coming out of my mouth until I die. By Thursday, there's a rhythm. Her grinder whines in a rising note and cuts off. My compressor kicks in whenever it feels like it. She works standing, straight-backed, one knife every 90 seconds, and I work mostly on the floor with a wheel between my knees. Around 10, she comes over and looks at what I'm doing, without saying anything for a while. That hub's shot, she says. It's not shot. It sounds like a coffee grinder full of gravel. That's the bearings. That's what shot means, Berto. I look up at her from the floor, and she's got her sleeves pushed up and grinder grit on her forearm, and she's very obviously enjoying herself. You want to help or narrate? Narrate. It's free. Friday she stays past 11 because Tobena sent her a whole kitchen, and the slicer blade is a nightmare. I finish my last chain and don't leave. I sweep instead. It's not even my side. You're stalling, she says, without turning around. I'm sweeping. You're sweeping my half. Your half's dirtier. Her grinder goes quiet and I hear her set the blade down on the towel. 2 more and I'm done, she says. There's a taco place open till 1. You only know 1 restaurant. I know 16. That one's open till 1. We eat in her truck in the garage lot, with the doors open because it's warm and neither of us wants to drive anywhere. She has her boots up on the dash. Somewhere across the river, somebody's setting off leftover fireworks, badly. Sunday numbers, I say. Sunday numbers, she says, and doesn't tell me hers, and doesn't ask for mine. Saturday, she's at my table by 8 with 2 coffees and hands me one without looking at me. Marguerite watches the whole exchange from behind her clipboard and writes something down. By week 4, she hands me a chef's knife on Tuesday like she's handing me a baby. Feel the edge. With what? Your thumb, across it, not along it. I'm not paying your urgent care. I run my thumb across. It feels like a knife. It's sharp. It's sharp at the wrong angle. Whoever did this took it to 25 degrees on one side and 15 on the other, so it steers left through an onion. Watch. She cuts an onion she brought specifically to cut. The blade wanders. Okay, I say, so fix it. I'm teaching you to fix it. I fix bikes. You fix tolerances. Same disease, different metal. She gets me on the wet grinder for 40 minutes, and I'm bad at it in a way I'm not used to being bad at things. My wrist keeps rolling. She says angle. I say I know. She says you don't. And by the fourth knife, I set it down harder than I mean to. I've got a customer's mower open on the floor, so go do the mower. You don't have to make it a whole thing. I'm not making anything. Go do the mower. I do the mower. It takes 9 minutes. Then I stand there in the middle of the bay, not doing anything for a while, which she has the decency not to comment on. At 9, her grinder makes a noise it hasn't made before. A tick, once per rotation, then a stutter in the feed. That's not the stone, I say. It's the feed. It's been drifting for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? I've been compensating with my hands. You've been compensating with your hands on a machine that sets the angle for you. Do you hear yourself? She looks at me for a second too long. Then she steps back and gestures at it, palm up, like a waiter. I get the housing off. The feed screw's worn on one flank, and the bracket that holds it has a hairline flex in it that's been letting everything walk. I show her the bracket under the light. That's why your last 10 knives fought you. 12. 12. You knew the count. I always know the count. I pull a piece of stock off Pike's scrap shelf, leave a note, cut the bracket fresh, and shim the screw with a washer. I turn down on my little lathe. It takes until 11:20. She doesn't hover, exactly. She just doesn't go anywhere. When I fit it back and run it, the tick's gone. The whine climbs and holds flat. She listens to it with her arms crossed and her head tilted, and she doesn't say anything for maybe 8 seconds. Do that again. I run it again. Berto, that's how it sounded new. It's a $2 washer? It's not. She reaches past me and shuts it off and doesn't step back after. Don't do the thing where you make it smaller. I'm not. You are. You've been doing it since April. We're close enough that I can see the grit on her forearm again, and the place where her collar's damp. Neither of us moves, the compressor kicks in, and neither of us jumps. Give me the knife back, I say. Which one? The one that steers left. I want to try it again. She gets it off the towel and puts it in my hand, and her fingers stay under mine a beat longer than the handoff needs. 15 aside, she says. Both sides. Say it. 15 aside. Good. Now don't roll your wrist. I roll my wrist. She fixes it with her hand on my hand and doesn't take it away. By week 6, she leaves her laptop open on the sink counter one Wednesday while she goes out to move the truck. I'm not snooping. I'm looking for a rag, and her screen is right there at eye level with a spreadsheet on it. And I have spent 4 weeks staring at her spreadsheets on purpose. There's a tab I've never seen. Not revenue, referrals. 2 columns of restaurant names and a 3rd column with my name in it over and over. Dates, amounts. Tuesday, Verity Grill, Walk Behind Mower, Berto. 3rd week, Palmer & Sons, 2 mowers plus a generator, Berto. 4th week, Halloran, pressure washer, Berto. Estimated 310. I count 9. I've done every one of those jobs. I thought Halloran found me on a flyer. She comes back in with her keys in her teeth and sees where I'm standing and takes the keys out of her mouth slowly. Okay, she says. 9 jobs. 11, 2 of them didn't call you back. You gave me 11 jobs. I sent 11 jobs to a guy who could do them. That's what a referral is. You're competing with me. Yes, a days. That's like $1,400 of my column. 1,640, she says. I know the count. I put the rag down because I don't know what to do with my hands. Why? She sets the keys on the counter. She doesn't sit and she doesn't come closer. Because I wanted the 8 weeks, she says. You wanted to win the 8 weeks. I wanted the 8 weeks. The winning part was the packaging. The compressor picks that exact second to kick in, and we both wait it out like it's a train going by. Say it plainer, I say. I quit a job where I saw the same 40 people every day, and I didn't like most of them. And then I was alone in a truck for a year, and the one part of my week I looked forward to was Saturday morning setup, because you'd be 40 feet away, arguing with a derailleur. She folds her arms. I couldn't think of a single normal way to be around you more. You don't take invitations, you take terms. That's not true. I said 7 o'clock, and you brought a laptop. I open my mouth and there's nothing in it. So, I built a thing with rules and a scoreboard, and you said yes in about 9 seconds, she says. And then the rent went up and I got a whole garage out of it, which honestly was luck. The rent going up was luck? For me it was. I look at the screen again. All those dates. She sent me the pressure washer job the same week she was $300 behind. You've been handing me the contest. I've been handing you work you're good at. I'd like it if you stopped being broke. She shrugs like it's a small thing, and it lands like it isn't. And the contest was always fake, Berto. I told you that just now. That's the part I'm nervous about, not the money. You don't get nervous. I've been standing here for 2 minutes waiting to see your face. So I let her see it. I'm grinning like an idiot and I can't get it off. There it is, she says, and her shoulders drop about an inch. I'm still going to win. You can't win. There's nothing to win. Then I'll beat you at nothing. Fine. She picks her keys back up and doesn't move toward the door. Saturday, bring the good spreadsheet. Bring the onion. Tear down takes 40 minutes, and we stretch it to 70. I know because she says so. You folded that table 3 times. It wasn't sitting right. It's a table, Berto. It's got 4 legs and no opinions. The market's empty by then, except for Marguerite locking the ice chest and a guy sweeping corn, husks toward the river. A Daisy's cart is loaded. My van's loaded. There is nothing left in either of our hands. Garage, I say. There's no work at the garage. There's a mower. You finished the mower Thursday. I watched you finish it. So we stand there in the gravel lot with the sun going orange off the water and no reason to be anywhere. Okay, she says. The garage anyway. We drive separately, which is stupid. And I catch every light and she doesn't. And she's already got the roll-up door halfway up when I pull in. Inside, it smells like it always smells. Steel and cut grass and whatever that pink soap is at the sink. She doesn't turn her grinder on. I don't get anything out. This is the part where you sweep, she says. I already know. You sweep when you don't want to leave. I sweep when the floor's dirty. The floor's been dirty since April, and you swept it for the first time on a Friday at 11 o'clock at night. She's leaning against the sink counter with her arms behind her on the edge of it, boots crossed, not moving toward me at all, which is somehow worse. You want me to say it, I say. I said mine Wednesday, in the daylight, with a spreadsheet open. That was a very strong hand. It was. I'd do it again. I cross the concrete strip we've been bumping into each other in for 4 weeks, and it takes about 3 steps, and then her hands come off the counter and land flat on my chest, and neither of us has said anything else. Okay, she says, quietly, not a question. I kiss her. She's got one hand up on my jaw immediately, grit and all, and she's smiling into it, which makes it briefly impossible. And she pulls back an inch and says, "Stop laughing," and I say, "You started." And then we don't talk for a while. Her hip finds the edge of the counter, and I put a hand there to keep her off the faucet handle, and she says something into my shoulder that I don't catch. What? I said 6 weeks. 6 weeks isn't that long. I've been standing on the other side of a tarp from you since last season. I get her hair off her neck, and she tips her head to make it easier, and I hear her exhale all the way out, like something she'd been holding since a Tuesday at 9:40. Nobody's in a hurry. That's the part I didn't expect. We end up sitting on her tailgate with the door up and the lot dark, her legs over mine, arguing about nothing, stopping every few minutes. Your 15 aside is still bad, she says. You've got grease on your face. You put it there. Around 1, she checks her phone and doesn't look at what's on it. Tabena's sending me a whole restaurant Monday, she says. 41 knives. You know the count already. I always know the count. She kisses me again, easy, like she's allowed. And then she pushes off the tailgate and starts pulling the roll-up down. Saturday you carry my cart, she says. In front of Marguerite? Especially in front of Marguerite. The next Saturday Marguerite gets to us before the coffee stand does. So, she says, clipboard against her hip. The cart. What about the cart? You carried it. Both ends. She let you. She was holding coffees. She was holding one coffee, Berto, and she was holding it like a woman who wanted to be seen not carrying a cart. A daze doesn't even look up from her cash box. Marguerite, if you're going to write it down, spell my name right. I've spelled your name right for 2 seasons. You put an extra E in it in June. That was the printer. By 10, it's gone all the way down the row. The lady with the sourdough asks if we're doing a combined booth next year. A guy wants to know if the sharpening comes with the bike tune-up as a package, and when I say we're two businesses, he winks at me like I've said something clever. That's the fourth one, Adayaz says. Fifth. The pepper guy asked at 8:30. You're counting? I learned it from somebody. Tobena shows up at 11 in kitchen clogs with his apron still tied, because he does that. And he stands in front of my table with his arms folded and looks at me for a full 4 seconds. So, it's the bike guy. Small engines too, I say. She's been talking about the bike guy since last October. Tobena, October, he says to me. She said, there's a man at the market who argues with metal. I said that's most men. She said no, he wins. Adaze throws a shop towel at his head and misses. Their parents come at noon. I didn't know they were coming. I find out because her back goes straight in a way I've never seen it go, and she sets a knife down mid-stroke, which she does not do. They're nice to me. That's the thing. Her mother asks how long the market runs, and her father asks whether I did school for the engine work, and I say I did 2 years of engineering and then didn't, and he nods like he's filing it. Then her mother says, to Adaze, not to me. The Hendrick people called your uncle. They said they'd take you back tomorrow. I know what they'd do. 16 locations you ran. I know how many I ran, Mama. And now knives. There's a stretch where nobody says anything, and I can hear her grinder cooling off. She's got restaurant contracts in 3 neighborhoods, I say. She turned 2 down in August because the drive wasn't worth it. She's the only person on this row who knows her own numbers to the dollar. Her father looks at me. You keep her books? I can't keep my own. She fixed mine. Her mother pats my arm on the way past, like I'm a nice young man who's been misled, and then they're gone up the road toward the bread. Adaze picks the knife back up, puts it down again. You didn't have to do that. I know. They'll ask me about you for a month. Good. She laughs once, more air than sound, and leans her shoulder into mine, right there in the open, with the sourdough lady watching. Hendrick called my uncle, she says. Not me. Okay. They'll call me. She goes back to the slicer blade and doesn't say when. Tuesday of week 8. They call her at 4:10. And I know because she tells me the time. I'm on the floor with a generator carb and a coffee can of cleaner when she comes in and stands in the middle of the bay without setting her bag down. Hendrick called. Yeah, Director of Operations. Same title, new region. They want to know by the end of next week. I get up off the floor slower than I need to. What's the number? She says it. It's more than I've made in 3 years put together. I do the math anyway, because that's what I do. And the math takes about 2 seconds and then just sits there. That's 20% over what you left at, I say. 22%. And the team? 4 of them. Sabine, Rennie, 2. I hired myself. She finally puts the bag down. They asked for me by name. Sabine's the one who called. So they know how to get you. They know exactly how to get me. She's not smiling and she's not upset. She's got the face she gets when a blade's fighting her, and she hasn't figured out which flank yet. What did you say? I ask. I said I'd think about it. I nod. I put the carb back in the can. There's a jet in there I've cleaned twice already. She waits. She's good at waiting. Wednesday she'd stood in this exact spot for 2 minutes just to see my face, and now she's doing it again, and I don't give her one. Birdo, it's a good offer. That's it? It's a lot of money and 4 people you like. I wipe my hands. What am I supposed to say to that? Anything. Say the thing you're actually thinking. The thing I'm actually thinking is 1,640. 11 jobs she handed me. Halloran, Palmer, and Sons. A pressure washer she sent me the same week she was 300 behind. And I'd sat there grinning like an idiot about it. Like it meant something. When the real shape of it is a woman who used to run 16 locations looking across 40 feet of gravel at a guy clearing $12 a bike and deciding to help. You don't build a scoreboard for somebody you think is your equal. You build it so he'll take the work without noticing. Nothing, I say. I'm thinking it's a good offer. She looks at me a while longer. Then she gets her apron off the hook and turns her grinder on, and that's the whole conversation. I leave at 9. I don't sweep. Wednesday I take a call out in Belafonte. I'd normally turn down for the drive. Thursday I do a whole day of mowers out of my driveway and don't go to the bay at all. She texts at 10:30, one line, "You coming?" I type 3 different things and send none of them and end up with, "Got a full board," which is true and also not why. Friday, she's already there when I get in at 7. 41 knives is a lot of knives, and she's on maybe number 30, working faster than she needs to. Verity Grill called me about a walk behind, she says. I told them to find somebody. Okay, I've got 2 more like that. You don't have to send me anything. Her grinder stops. That's not what that was, she says. Sunday's the last exchange, I say. 8 weeks, I'll have my screenshots. She doesn't answer, and I go get the broom, and then I put it back. The following Saturday is the season closer, and I get there at 6:30 because I want the toolkit in her cart before she shows up. It doesn't fit in her cart, so I'm standing in the gravel at 6:40 with $412 of red steel case at my feet when her truck pulls in and the headlights land on me and stay there about 2 seconds too long. She gets out, looks at the case, looks at me. You lost by $80. I know. Then that's mine. It's yours anyway. Berto. You handed me $1,640 and I still came in 80 short. I'm not paying you for a contest. I'm buying you a toolkit. She crouches down and opens it, because of course she does, and goes through the top tray like she's checking an invoice. The ratchet's decent. It's the good kind. The case won't crack. She shuts it, doesn't get up right away. I told Sabine no on Wednesday. I don't say anything, because if I say something, I'll say the wrong one. You want to know why? I want to know if you want to tell me. I'd have been managing 4 people I like inside a company that already threw them away once. She stands, brushes her knees. I'd have been good at it. That's the part that scared me. I'd have been good at it for 6 years, and then somebody in the building 11 days would tell me to cut them again. That's a reason. It's not the only one. She picks up her end of the case and waits for me to pick up mine, and we start walking it toward the stalls. The other one is, I like my week. I like knowing every dollar. I like the truck. I like being 40 feet from you, and then 12 feet from you, and then not measuring it. You measured it just now. Old habit. Marguerite is unlocking the ice chest and watching us carry a toolkit up the row together, with her mouth slightly open and her clipboard forgotten under her arm. We set it down by her cart. My hands are free and I don't do anything with them for a second. I thought you were pitying me, I say. I know you did. Tuesday, 4:10, I watched you decide it. You could have told me I was wrong. You'd have argued. She pulls her apron off the cart hook. You needed to sit in your driveway with mowers for 3 days. It was 2 days and a Belfonte call-out. 2 days and a Belfonte call-out. The row starts filling up. Somebody drops a crate of peaches. Adaz ties the apron behind her back and doesn't look at me while she says it. I'm not doing another 8 weeks. Good. No scoreboard. No Sunday screenshots. Then what do we do on Sundays? She finally looks up. Whatever people do. I get my table out and set it up crooked on purpose so she'll fix it. And she does, without comment, one leg with her boot. At 9, a guy asks if the sharpening comes with the tune-up. 2 businesses, I tell him. Same bay, she says. Marguerite writes that down. 2 weeks into the off-season, and I still wake up at 6:20 like there's a tarp to unfold. So does she, which is how we end up at the bay before 7 on a Saturday, with no market to go to. Coffee's on your side, she says. Why is it on my side? Because I made it, and I'm not delivering. Bay 4 in November is cold enough that the roll-up stays down, and we run the little propane heater Pike swears is a fire hazard every single time she walks past it. She's welding a gate frame in Bay 2, and has opinions about our extension cord too. The rhythm's just a thing now. She's on the sink wall by 7, apron, first blade by 7:10. I've got a snowblower on the stand that a guy named Ostrowski has been babying since 2009 and refuses to replace. Your carb's not the problem, she says, walking past with a boning knife. You don't know that. It's the impeller belt. It slipped when you spun it and you pretended you didn't hear. I heard it. You heard it and kept looking at the carb because the carb's more fun. She's right, which is annoying at 7:40 in the morning. Books are still separate. Mine's the split-column version she built me at the taco place, and it's clean now, and I check it Sunday nights alone, like a normal person. Hers is hers. I don't ask her totals, and she tells me anyway, usually in the middle of something else. 1,140 this week, she says, over the grinder winding down. That's a lot of knives. That's 4 kitchens and a slicer. Tabena sent me a place on Dell Street that has never sharpened anything in its life. Their fish knife had a burr you could climb. Congratulations? You're at what, 9-something? 940. She looks over. You know the count. I always know the count. She laughs at that quietly and goes back to the towel. Around 9, she comes over and puts her chin on my shoulder while I've got the belt cover off, and just stays there breathing on my ear while I work, which is not helpful. You want the belt or not, I say. I want you to say I was right about the belt. You were right about the belt. She kisses the side of my neck and takes her coffee back to the sink like nothing happened, and Pike walks through the middle of it, looking for a grinding wheel, and does not react at all. Second week in a row. The first time she said something about it, and Adaze told her the gate frame was out of square, and she checked, and it was. And now she says nothing. Marguerite stops by at 10 with a tin of something and vendor forms for spring. Placement, she says. Same spots, or are you two combining? 2 businesses, I say. Same bay, Adaze says. I have that written down, thank you. She stays 20 minutes and eats 3 of her own cookies. At noon, we get lunch at the taco place because Adaze only knows 16 restaurants, and that one's open. She puts her boots on my dash. I drive. Her hand ends up on my knee at a red light, and neither of us moves it, and I don't count how long.